Sullivan, hello and welcome to my Where You At podcast. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on as a guest. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I know we had to push it back a little bit, but I'm so excited to finally, sit down and talk with you.
Yes, same here. Super excited to be on here.
So how has everything been? I mean, I know you've been going through a lot of change, a lot of transitions, but how just give me a little recap on how you've been doing.
I would say I'm doing pretty well. I actually had a catch-up call with a mentor of mine earlier today. Her name is Miss Marty. I know she's going to be watching
Yes, Miss Marty,
this.
shout out to Miss
So,
Marty.
yes, shout out to Miss Marty. I will always shout her out. But we had a call and I was telling her how I just started my first full-time position, and it's definitely been, an adjustment as far as, like, working 40 hours a week and actually, like, dedicating that time. Even though it's mostly virtual, we have, like, a hybrid schedule, so 3 days in person, 2 days remote. Um, it's just an adjustment period, so it is something new. I pray for this position. I'm very excited to be here, and learning. I just think kinda how we've talked about before, how, like, you get somewhere and then it's like, "Okay, this is what I have to learn. This is how I can get from this, position," and just learning, like, why you're in a place. So I would definitely say I'm in the space of adjustment and still learning how to prioritize myself, prioritize relationships, friendships,
Mhm.
friendships, and just overall connections. So it's definitely been a journey, but I'm just excited to be here and to be learning.
Well, what? That takes us back to about a year ago, almost over
Yeah,
a year now. Our
over a
True
year.
Star days. I was living in Chicago
Mhm.
for my master's program, and I just so happened to fall upon True Star. You know what's funny? I don't think I've actually told this story. I was in the period of time where I was applying for internships, and either I was going to have a summer internship or I was going to have some sort of a summer project. So if an internship didn't work out, I was going to have to do a project for the summer, which I was like, okay, if that's what I have to do, I have to do. So the day I had gotten rejected from some one of the internships I applied for that I was really excited for was the day that I had made it to True Star and met Nate and Diana, and I had connected with Miss Marty, and oh my gosh, it was just it was almost like divine intervention. It was like I was meant to be here. I was meant to spend my summer with all of you, and oh my gosh, looking back, that's like that really topped off my year and my time in Chicago, being able to spend time with True Star and make those friendships, those connections that I'm still holding near to me to this day.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we were so grateful to have your presence. Like, literally, I always said, like, I would just randomly say, like, "Man, I miss Taylor. I wish Taylor was here," like, when I was still there after you had moved to New York. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely such a great place to be for emerging creatives, people who are getting trained in media, and I'm just, I'm glad that our paths align that way too.
So True Star,
Yeah.
like you said, a great place for emerging creators, young creatives based in
Mhm.
Chicago, though. So only if you're in Chicago you can get connected with them. So first, Ellie, just tell us a little bit about. I know you're born and raised in Chicago, but then you were able, you got away, you got out of your hometown, you went to North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride, right?
Aggie Pride, yes.
And how was that? I guess first, just thinking back, how was that transition period for you? Leaving home, going across, not across the country, but still going far from home to start
Yeah.
undergrad in a completely new environment, being at an HBCU. What was that experience like? I know we're kind of going back a few years, but I just want to hear some of the background for you.
Yeah, I'll definitely talk about that. I think okay, I'll just walk you through high school. So, high school was definitely a challenge for me being as though it was like predominantly white and I was, one of the only black girls in my grade in my class, and that was definitely kind of a challenge for me. So I love the school academically. It was top ranked. It exposed me to a lot, and I'll forever be grateful for the high school that I went to because it exposed me to so much and I learned how to navigate that type of environment. But it was just very challenging for me to be around people. I wouldn't even say be around people who weren't like me, but be around people who weren't conscious about like the ways that their behavior might have affected everyone's experience. And so diversity is never the problem. It's just about how everyone is able to handle that
Right.
diversity and still
Hear you.
be intelligent about the way that they go about their interactions with other people. And so it was challenging. And I had already said, like, in middle school, I had already said that I'm going to like college for free. I said that at the age of 12. You can ask my
Yeah,
mom.
that
And then, like, I had already known, I'm like, "I'm going to college for free."
Mhm.
And, when I got to high school, I decided, like, "Okay, I wanna go to an HBCU." Like, I heard so much about the way that the culture is at the school and, just, like, the atmosphere and the way that it can really help people grow, the one-on-one support that they have from staff and faculty and professors. Most HBCUs are small,
Mhm.
and I just really love the way that there was just that support, and I felt that every HBCU grad I had ever seen was just super confident, and they, like, knew how to navigate a room and network and talk to people and be themselves and be eloquent, and they were intelligent and super accomplished. And I'm like, you know what? This is like what I see for my future. This is what I see myself being. I see myself being very confident walking into rooms because I didn't have that in high school. And I knew that whatever HBCU I went to, I didn't know which one I was going to, but I know whichever one I went to was gonna like develop that for me.
Mhm.
Um, and so I graduated. I went to North Carolina A&T. I did get a full ride. All glory be to God. I take no credit for that. Like, it's all glory to God because I knew that I had already manifested and spoken it into existence, but I knew that the way that it happened was divinely ordained. Like you said, how you ended up at True Star is actually funny because the scholarship that I got was a merit scholarship, so it wasn't, like, need-based or anything like that. HBCUs, if you know, you know. I love our institutions, but they don't really give need-based money like that.
The
And
money
so
that you actually yeah.
yeah, so, I was applying, like, my senior year, I was in the field, like, literally applying to scholarships, like, every day. At that point, that was before COVID, so a lot of them had to be mailed in. Some of, like, older school scholarships where people would only, like, read a paper application, like, I applied to every scholarship I saw, I applied. I had a job, like, I had a little job at Goodwill, like, at the time, my senior year of high school, I quit that job just to focus on scholarships specifically, and I
You were
ended up.
working at True Star too at the time, right?
Yes, I was. I wasn't writing articles as much as I should have, so Miss Marty will tell you that. I won't say I was doing everything that I should have. I was, like, doing stuff as I felt like it, I'm not gonna lie.
That's okay. Senior
Um
year, that's a yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay.
senior year is kinda like the landslide where you just trying to make it to the end. I was like, "You know what? I just gotta apply to these scholarships. I can't focus on anything else." Um, so I went to interview because I had made it as a finalist for one of the scholarships that I applied for at North Carolina A&T, and they had, like, an honors weekend, so they laid out the red carpet for everybody. It was, like, a month literally before COVID hit. I went to go see the campus and I interviewed, and as soon as I got out the interview room, I'm like, "I just bombed that, like, I know I'm not getting a scholarship."
No.
I was like, "I just bombed that." I felt so bad because my family had gone all of that way, like, we drove the 13 hours from Chicago to North Carolina. It had put a dent in my mom's pocket for us to go, and I just felt, just so terrible that I felt like I didn't do well, but one thing that I did do, I might have stumbled over my words, but I went in there very confident. I went in there, shook everybody's hands. At the end of my interview, I said, "I'll see everybody in the fall." Like, I literally I was like, "I can't
I
wait to
will
see
be
everybody
seeing
in the
you.
fall."
Mhm.
I shook everybody's hands. I was not playing. I was like, "Okay, even though I know that I didn't do as well as I wanted to do, I'm still gonna just fake the funk and act like I did well, in my opinion." But I knew deep down, I was like, "Yeah, that wasn't that good." So I got a letter in the mail that February because the interview was in January. So I got a letter in the mail that February that I didn't get it. And I still kept the faith because I was like, okay, like I know all this hard work that I put in high school, I know that it could not be in vain. Like I just know that this hard work gotta pay off. Like, it's going to have to pay off. I don't know. It's no other option than for it to pay off. So I just kinda let that roll off my back. I'm like, "I didn't get it, but there's somewhere else I can go. If I don't go there, I'll be fine." And, they actually sent me a letter actually the day like, a few days after COVID hit, telling me that I actually got the scholarship. And so somebody had, like, rejected their offer to go on the scholarship that I received, so I was, like, next in line on the wait list. And when I tell you I was so happy, I'm like, I knew it was gonna pay off, I just had to keep the faith. It was all glory to God because clearly it wasn't off the way that I talked in the interview, it was just off the energy and the confidence that
What
I
you brought into that. Mhm.
exactly. It wasn't what I said, cause I promise you, like, it was a time where I just started the question over. I'm like, "Wait, what was the question?" Like, I'm literally sitting there, and I'm 17 at the time, and I'm just, like, at a loss for words, and I know what I wanna say. You know how, like, you know what you wanna say, but it's, like, not
But
coming
you
out
can't
right?
get it, like, articulated the way you want it to be to come out.
Yes, it wasn't being articulate. I'm like, I know what I wanna say, and I know that I wanna speak with eloquence so that they don't think that I'm stupid, but it just wasn't coming out the way that I needed it to come out. I was like, "Ugh, okay, but if it's meant for me, it's gonna happen." So, that was why I went to North Carolina A&T, a very long-winded way of answering that.
Yes, but hey, you got your school paid for, a full ride, you were able to
Yes,
graduate debt free, and
yes,
that's all an accomplishment in itself. I mean,
yes.
that you have to plot, pat yourself on the back for that one because that is not something that a lot of people can say they, in that position to graduate undergrad and not have anything to pay back.
Yeah.
I know that that's a blessing all in itself.
It's a huge blessing, and I'm just so grateful for it, and I think that my HBCU did everything for me that I needed it to do. It gave me that confidence. I'm still working on it, being in a new environment, as far as my workplace, but I think it'll always be like a journey in progress. You'll never feel like 100% confidence. It's like a relationship kinda, like some days you feel 100%, other days you feel like 60, but it's all about that grace that you give yourself. But I definitely learned like really great networking skills. I learned how to work a room. I learned how to, extend my network, and that's what college is about at the end of the day. So, it was just a level of exposure that I hadn't seen before, and that I was just super grateful to go across the country and experience. And yeah,
And I think what's also so fascinating about you is what you studied in undergrad. You're an economics major, and then fast forward to obviously what you're doing now. You transitioned into this media content creation space going from economics. So I'd love to know what made you pivot because those are two very different fields, but I know you're finding ways to connect them.
yes, they are super, super different. And I love that you asked me that. That's a really good question because a lot of people are kind of dumbfounded by like my major in college.
Uh-huh.
When I say that I was an economics student. So I actually went into college. It's actually crazy because like I said, I had done True Star
Uh-huh.
throughout my entire high school experience. So True Star,
And not
for
to cut
those who
you
don't
off,
know.
but yeah, I was just gonna
Go
say,
ahead.
can you tell them what True Star is? That's exactly what I was gonna say, so go ahead.
Yes, because I was like, maybe everybody we know obviously what True Star is, but we gotta explain it to people who might not know. So True Star is a youth-led digital media company. We used to be a magazine, but it's a youth-led digital media company. I wrote for the magazine in high school, but now everything is digital. There's a web platform and they focus on like content and media production basically. So they have clients, they go out and serve different small businesses in the Chicagoland area to produce any videos that they might need, interviews, documentaries, anything like that. They pretty much produce it. And they they upskill students in, like, digital media production, so people learn how to do radio, journalism, podcasting, they know how to do, content creation, so, like, reels, they know how to do video, like, editing, and there's just so many different programs that you can, like, partake in TrueStar. But that's what True Start is. So I started when I was 14, because I saw one of the magazines at my dad's school. He was an administrator at a high school, and I saw the magazines laid out, and I'm like, "What? I love to write. Why don't I write for them? This is like by teenagers or whatever." And so he actually knew one of the co-founders, and he called and got me into the summer program, and that was when I was 14. So ever since then, throughout my whole high school like career, I was like, I know I want to go into media. That's something that a lot of people don't know. I had always known, always been creative, always knew that like I wanted to do something with creativity. And I actually like applied on the basis of being a journalism student when I got my full ride scholarship. They were under the impression that I was going to come into school and be a journalism student. And I told them in the interview, like, I want to own my own advertising agency one day. Like, it was a full thing. I had
Mhm.
everything figured out. And my senior year came around, and like I said, I got the scholarship, but COVID hit and there was still an opportunity to, like, change my major. So, that time between, like, March and August when we actually, like, went onto campus,
Mhm.
2020, I was, like, kinda freaking out because everybody around me was, like, losing their jobs. Like, I felt like I kinda wanted some type of job security. I wanted something that was more stable. I wanted something that could provide me some type of longevity and give me the life that
Yeah.
I want. At the time, I knew nothing about, like, content creation or anything like that. I just knew, like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to college, graduate, work a job that I know wants to give me that can give me, like, a good foundation." And, at the time, I didn't think of myself as, like, an entrepreneur earning my own income. I had always heard, like, entrepreneurs were greedy and rich and, you don't wanna
Something,
be an
yeah, something you
entrepreneur.
wanted nothing to do with.
Exactly. Well, entrepreneurs just work too hard. These are all the things that you always hear about entrepreneurs. So I'm like, okay, I know I'm not an entrepreneur. Like, I'm just gonna work my honest job and I'm gonna be
Right.
okay or whatever. And so I looked up like the average salary of a journalist like my senior year because I'm like, I need something that's gonna give me like a good life when I
Stability.
graduate.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I saw, like, something like 45K or something like that. I'm like, "Oh, no. I will not go to school for 4 years, work my butt off, and be making" and that was just my mindset at the time. And I just felt like I wanted to try something new. So I was always interested in like psychology and why people make the decisions that they make. And I was kind of interested in money and like why, people make the decisions that
I
they do. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, like I kind of had the business mindset a little bit. I always had my own ventures, but I just never monetized it. So I never thought about myself as an entrepreneur. But in high school, I had a blog. I had all of these different things that I was doing, but I always had some type of project that I was working on, whether it be YouTube, Instagram. Had like a blog, like I said. I was just doing all of these different things, but I just never thought of myself as a person who would like monetize that. So I didn't.
Yeah.
So I was just like, creativity is something that you do for fun. You don't do it as a career.
That's not right. That's not your 9 to 5. Like, that is something
Exactly.
that's a hobby.
Exactly. In that first year, I'm like, okay, I'm going to like get this corporate internship or whatever. And I did get a internship with Deloitte my first year. And then I did this program with like Goldman Sachs. And I'm like, I don't know, like corporate doesn't really seem like it's for
Yeah.
me.
You're getting
Uh,
all these fun experiences and, like,
yes.
finance girl. You want a finance bro. You're a finance girly. You're getting exposure to all of these different worlds, and then it's kinda, is that what's pushing you away?
Yeah, I think it was that was pushing me away, and, at that point, I was pushed away from corporate. I knew that I didn't wanna, like, do anything that I wasn't interested in. I'm just not a person that can work on something for a long time and not be intrinsically motivated. I have to, like, have a super high intrinsic motivation no matter how much something is paying me. I have to, like, be motivated and see a vision behind something, and it has to make sense in terms of my passions or I just cannot do it. Like, unless my life is on the line and like this is my only stream of income, and like if I don't work this job, I'm gonna be homeless, then like mentally I just cannot do something that I don't care about. And
Mm.
so that was the whole reason why I was turned away from corporate. But then, I ended up going into research. So I did this program at U Chicago, also my first year. So that summer I did U Chicago and Deloitte. And I did that program and I like fell in love with research and I'm like, I'm gonna do research, like I'm gonna be a PhD economist. I'm gonna like be this huge professor at this university and like everything is gonna work out. And I ended up like having an actual in-person internship at the University of Chicago. And I was like basically behind a desk all day. Like it was terrible. I felt like I lost so much touch with my creativity because at this point I'm like, I had just lost touch with the things that I enjoy to do. I call it like, not to get deeper or anything, but I called it like my depression years, quote unquote, because I wasn't doing anything like creative. I was kind of sad, honestly. Like I was just like, coding all day and it's like sitting behind a desk and doing all this
You're
math.
just going through the motions at that point, like doing what you had to do because you were there, so you were gonna do your
Yeah.
job, but
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was like I had committed to this already, so I felt like I had to do it. But my senior year came around and I just kind of had to be real with myself after I did a program at Howard. It was like a research program. We were taking PhD classes pretty much. Like I like I my friend can tell you because we're still friends to this day. She can tell you, like, I didn't even attend, like, the last finals because they weren't like, they didn't count for a grade, and, like, at that point, if things are optional, like I said, if I don't care about it, I just cannot do it, and I had
you're
already
like,
told
"Oh."
myself, like yeah, I'm like, "This is making me so miserable," like, I literally cannot like, I'm just not interested in research, so at this point, I know it's not corporate, I know it's not research.
Right.
My
But
senior
finding out what you don't like and what you don't want is just as important as finding what you do. So the fact that you still had
Exactly.
the opportunity to cross those off, that was very beneficial for you.
Exactly, and I think, like you said, you have to, like, just chase your passions, and we can do this because we're young too. I just took that opportunity my senior year, I was, like, applying to all of these jobs, I knew that I had a good resume, I had done the research, I had the, like, corporate experiences, and I just wasn't getting anything, like, literally, I could not get a job, and I'm like, "What is going on?" Like, I'm applying to these corporate positions, I may not wanna do it, but, like, I don't wanna go back home, so I'm just gonna, like, be applying to stuff, and, at that point, I started posting content. I started, like, doing, it was actually a series that I did, my first series. I was telling one of my clients about this that I just had yesterday. I was like, my first series that I did was called Healthy Habits with Sully. So I would like go throughout my day and like record healthy habits that I would do. So I would wake up, I would like pray, I would fix myself a smoothie, I would go to the gym, I would like do all of these healthy things because on a college campus, it's very easy to fall into like really bad habits. Like
Yeah. They
smoking, drinking.
have to keep yourself you have to keep yourself disciplined and it's all
Yeah,
up to you.
yeah, it is all up to you. And I just wanted to show people like it is possible to have a healthy lifestyle and be in college. You don't have to eat like Bojangles every day. Like people, granted, like I was one of the girlies having like the Bojangles. It's like a chicken tender place if you
Oh,
haven't heard
I
of.
know exactly. Yep,
Oh,
I know what you're talking about.
girl, if I could have some Bojangles right now, trust, I would be getting some Bojangles. But it's like, okay, Bojangles is fine to have, but y'all, like every day, like,
Right, you said
you
that's not
know
healthy habits. Let's
exactly, exactly, and it's like, I just wanted to show people that, like, there's a way to still be, like, wholesome and be in college, like, you don't have to, like, give into, like, all of these things just because everybody else is doing it, and, like, Taylor, when I tell you, like, every time I would walk around campus, somebody would come up to me like, "I really love your content, like, keep doing what you're doing, please, like, we really need it." And
Yeah,
I fell off a couple times, like, around finals, people like, "Where's your content at?" Like,
right,
"We
like
need this your content." And I'm like, "What?" Like, people are really paying attention because
yeah.
sometimes when you post stuff, it's like, "Oh, you
You don't
just
think
posted it."
the
And
yeah, you're not thinking about the reach or the impact that it's making. You're just like, "Oh, I guess I'll put
exactly,
this out there."
exactly, and it can have thousands of views too, and you just like it because it's virtual, it doesn't seem like it's real people seeing it,
I
but
get that. I feel the same way even now.
yeah. Yeah. And it's tough. It's tough, like, when you actually see people, like, impacted by your content, it can kinda be, like, cringy, but you have to lean into it. And I just started leaning into it, and I'm like, "What do I wanna do?" Like, I know I love to be creative. I know I love to connect with people. I know I love to, like, network. Um, I know all of these things that I love to do. Why don't I just, like, try it? Like, I don't have any debt after college. I don't have any, like, big bills that I have to pay off. The most I'm paying is, like, my car note and my phone bill.
So,
I
like,
would
finding in a really good place to take the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't have, like, any, like, super big thing like, I didn't have to pay rent. I wasn't, like, super stoked about moving home, and, like, working I was happy about working at True Star, but I wasn't stoked about, like, being at home, but as time has progressed during this year and a half, my mindset has changed so much, and just, like, doing things that I enjoy and trusting that, like, all my needs will always be met. Having an abundance mindset, being able to, like, build my network, have mentors that push me in that direction to monetize my passions has just been absolutely amazing. So, it wasn't a path that I wanted to take or that I saw myself taking, but I think that business mindset that I have when it comes
Mhm.
to economics definitely puts me at an advantage because I think about everything in, like, systems and steps because that's how we had to, like, learn. It's kinda like I think it's really similar to engineering maybe in the sense that, like, you have to take a big project and learn how to, like, break it down into small things that are, like, comprehensible, and you have to know how to follow a system and follow a procedure in order to, like, achieve that end goal, and for
Mhm.
me, I know what my end goal is, and a lot of times with creative people, it's hard to, like, have that momentum because you have this big goal, but you don't necessarily know the steps to, like, break it down into tangible steps in order to actually get to that goal. Now, do things always go as planned? No, but it's good to have a plan and be consistent and be disciplined. And I
Right.
feel like economics gave me that business mindset and that business morale behind my creativity so that I'm not just that person that's like, well, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to be paid to be myself and I want to have this huge personal brand and I want to be a speaker and I want to go and do workshops for schools, but I'm not actually like putting in the time to do it. So
Right,
I
the
feel
steps
like
that you need to take to get to that point.
yeah, exactly, exactly, and I think school gave me that mindset, and that business, like, that math, all of I still be thinking about that math, I'm like, "That math really helped me," even though I hated it at the time, it helped me be able to think about things strategically and apply that to my creativity, and I think that's what makes my creativity stand out, so, I think it's all a blessing for sure.
Mhm. So you've been spending those 4 years in econ. So much of it you're still able to take and apply to exactly it is to everything that you're doing now.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
what exactly is this new role? I was so excited to hear about. I saw the LinkedIn post, but I was like, okay, let me not ask too many questions because this will be perfect to talk about on here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So my role now is as a digital marketing and events coordinator at Chicago Innovation. So what that means is that I run our social media. So that's most of what my role is. So aligns we have well, I'll explain what Chicago Innovation is first and then I'll get into my role. So we are a organization that is dedicated to elevating, celebrating all innovators. So, all innovators means whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a corporate organization, whether it's a small like business on the street or whether they like have 10,000 plus employees, we're dedicated to celebrating them and who they are and the ways that they've contributed innovative thinking to the Chicagoland region. So we were founded in 2002, actually the same year I was born, to kind of take some like spotlight off of like, you hear about Silicon Valley and like all
Mm,
of these different like
bigger.
tech places, bigger places, right? But our co-founders founded Chicago Innovation first as an award ceremony just to celebrate all of these organizations who have made such an extreme impact on the Chicagoland region. And now we've turned into mentoring programs. We have a an Envision convention every summer that is has now grown statewide that has, I believe, 30,000 students every year participate in it. Don't quote me because I'm not sure if that's the right number, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it's around 30,000 students who participate in like entrepreneurship. I said we have our mentoring programs, we have a fellowship program, and we just host events every month that celebrate innovators. And it's a very like it's right up my alley, honestly, with like entrepreneurship and me being able to be creative in this role. So I'm the digital marketing and events coordinator. So they just added the role. Basically, what that means is that I manage all of our social media and I cover all of our events live. So I'll go like record different events and different things that we have going on
Mhm.
have I go back and like edit a reel and I'll post it. I manage like our Instagram, LinkedIn, and like our Facebook. So I basically grow those channels. And then in addition, I also help with like small miscellaneous things for our events that we throw. So we have the Chicago Innovation Awards coming up, which is on November 18th, and it celebrates innovators and entrepreneurs in the Chicagoland region. So we have Chicago Innovation Awards that we'll be giving out. True Star actually won a Chicago Innovation Award last year. Yes, they did. That was how I like even learned what Chicago Innovation was because I had no idea. But our co-founders like selected me and Locke to go to the award ceremony with them because they had a table. And it was amazing. Like I just love the atmosphere. I love the way that everything was set up. And I just felt like it was a very sophisticated atmosphere. And from then on, I just kind of kept up with everything that they were doing. And I would say that my experience has been good. I think it's been definitely like a learning experience for sure, as far as the work and just
Mhm.
being able to manage my time. But I think that it's a good type of challenge because it's going to challenge me to like show up as myself in these rooms with like all of these like corporate executives because they have like some really big like partnerships and people that they work with. And it's a challenge to like still be comfortable in my skin in an environment that I'm not necessarily used to being in. But I think it's a good type of growth. And I think like a year from now, I'll be able to look back and be like, I grew so much. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's a little bit more about my role at Chicago Innovation.
So now being with Chicago Innovation, I know True Star was a nonprofit. This is a nonprofit. How is it still being in the nonprofit sector?
Yeah, I would say being in the nonprofit sector, I thought there would be like a huge difference, but really it's not. Like, I feel like depending on what nonprofit you're in, one might be a little more organized than the other or may have a different culture. But I think Chicago Innovation is also a very tight knit atmosphere. Everybody's really positive, really uplifting, and like from what I can tell, like, so far being there, it's just a really, like, vibrant atmosphere, and it's just very small, like, there's less than 10 of us, so everybody's, like, super close and knows, like, the details about each other's lives and different things like that, so I'm still, like, slowly integrating in because I still wanna, have a boundary, obviously, of, like, how much people know, and that's anywhere, right?
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
yeah, so there's still like some boundaries there, of course, but for the most part, I feel like nonprofits kind of have, from the two that I've been at, have that similar feel of like, you know, not being as cutthroat as corporate is. I
Right,
feel
because
that
you've
like
had the experiences of corporate, so
yeah. Yeah, from what I know, a little bit about what I know. I can't say that I know, like, too much about how corporate America is, but from the horror stories that I see on TikTok about, like, people, like, crying about their corporate job and how it's so depressing, I'm just like, "Okay, I know that this is not that," like, it's very I mean, people are CEO and VP generally like trust us to do our job. So like I said, we work hybrid 3 days a week in office 2 days. And it's a very like chill atmosphere, I feel. So yeah, I would say that it's a good atmosphere for sure.
so after graduating from college, you're coming home. I know there was a period of time when you're applying for jobs, you're either not hearing back or getting rejection, but thankfully you did have something like TrueStar to kind of fall back on in the meantime. And I know how thankful you are for them and how much they gave you. But what made
Mhm.
you decide that, it's time to take on a new role and leave TrueStar?
Yeah, I think it was really because I had been with TrueStar since I was 14. And I was like, Deanna and Nate, which are our co-founders, are women that I always looked up to. They were entrepreneurial, they had a vision, they've been doing this for 20 years. They were just always strong Black women that I looked up to. They always stood on what they believed in, they hustled for grants, they just had it going on. And I, always looked up to that, and I still do look up to that.
Mhm.
Um, I think for me personally, like I said, I just always have to be somewhere where I see what the vision is clearly and I can be invested and get behind it. And for me, with me being there from such a young age, I felt like my growth was a little bit capped just because I knew that, like, you know, people know my strengths here, they know my weaknesses. I feel like I'm kind of just coasting by, if that makes sense. Like, I'm a person that I don't like to like go through a hard time, but I do like challenges. I like to grow. I like to learn. Like, those are things that innately I just like. And so when I feel in any environment that I'm not being fulfilled in that way and my thirst for knowledge isn't being fulfilled in that way and I don't know like what, I'm doing or whatever, um, it just kind of makes me stray away mentally first before I physically do. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
yeah. Yeah, I think that was kinda where that came from of, like, just wanting to apply to new roles, and I had already said, like, once I graduated that I knew in any role, not even just True Star, but in any role, you don't wanna stay anywhere unless you, like, have a whole bunch of growth in the company and, like, you see and you're invested in the vision and you are satisfied with your salary and all types of things. Like, unless you're
right,
satisfied, keep moving. Every 2 years, you move. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
Like, you gotta
What's
keep on.
next? What Yeah, I hear you.
Exactly. Yeah, what's next? Like you said, like, just keep on moving to the next thing. So I just think it's a thing where it was definitely challenging because I was and still am emotionally invested in True Star, and they know that I mention their name in any room that I'm in, and I'm always gonna like, pull us up anywhere that I go because I'm forever indebted. I just think for me personally, there's a way to love from a distance when you know that your time is up. And
Mhm.
that was kind of where I was. So yeah, it's
So what
all
do you
love though.
Yeah. So what do you think excites you the most about this new chapter with where you're at?
I think something that excites me is just the potential to grow. I think a lot of times, like even last week, because you went to Northwestern for your master's, the Medill School of Journalism, right?
Huh? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. And last week, actually, we had an event in collaboration with Northwestern, but it was their Kellogg School of Management instead.
Okay,
Um,
business. Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
yeah, and it was called The Complete Innovator, and it was basically like an MBA in a day for all of the top 100 finalists for the Chicago Innovation Awards. And of course, I'm there recording content. That's what I'm doing. I did fulfill my role while I was there. Okay, everybody loved the stories and the reel that I put together. But I'm also taking pictures of the slides because these are like this is
Right?
valuable
Like
information.
you need to
Like
be. Huh?
this is a $2,500 value that I get to sit here and learn about. Like the week before, where are we at? We were at the Second City, like for an event that we had in collaboration with it's like this comedy like place or whatever. And there's like people who are at the top of the food chain in their like companies, like
Yeah, like you're like in the rooms with these Fortune 500 CEOs and all of
yes,
this stuff.
yes,
Yeah, that's really
yes,
I can only imagine. I mean, and it's hard to be like, "Oh, do I belong in these spaces, in these rooms?" But it's like,
girl.
absolutely, yes, you do.
Yes, and that's my point exactly. Like, it's definitely been a struggle because, again, like, I'm one of the only people sometimes that looks like me in these rooms, right? So it's like, okay, sometimes I feel like I don't ever wanna appear threatening, right? So a lot of times, like, I'm smiling a lot or I'm like, just making myself palpable, I feel.
Yeah,
And not that that's, like, the best thing to do, but it just that's just my natural instinct is to smile and, make sure that people don't feel, like, threatened or that I'm not making, like, any sudden movements, and it sounds crazy, but it's like, that's genuinely, like, where my mind goes, and, um I don't know. I guess I just am still trying to like get comfortable in those spaces. And I know that it'll take time. I'm only a month in, so I'm trying to give myself grace. But I don't ever want to put myself in a position either where I'm like, discriminating myself before anybody even has a chance to, like, discriminate against me, if that makes sense. Like, if
yeah,
I go into an environment where I'm already knowing, like, "Okay, I'm this black girl that gotta, like, tiptoe around," like, that's what I'm gonna do because you're gonna get the experience that you're looking for, and you are your thoughts, like, your actions your feelings turn into your thoughts, which turn into your actions. So if I get in this mindset of like wanting to be small because I feel like people are gonna be, like, threatened against me, like, it's gonna be exhausting to be in these rooms, and I have to something that I'm learning now is that I have to, like, really get clear on, like, my journaling and my emotional regulation and, like, saying my affirmations and prayer and just reminding myself, like, "No, I am worthy of being in these rooms." Like, I nobody has even said anything to me before I'm like,
yeah. Make you think otherwise, like, I get it.
exactly. Like, nobody even say anything to me, but it's like I'm going out of my way to, like, seek this experience, and I'm not saying that it won't happen. I'm not saying that at all. It might happen, but if I look for that, that's exactly what I'm gonna get. So I have to choose to focus on, like, positive things, and it takes a certain amount of mental strength, but it'll take time too, so I'm giving myself grace, but I would say, like, that's what I'm looking forward to most, ironically, is like the growth and the challenge of being able to overcome that mentally and know that, like, eventually be at the point where I can walk into a room with anybody and know that, like, I'm supposed to be here. You can't tell me nothing,
Right.
whatever, you know?
I love that, and I love that mindset you have, that the confidence you have, and how you're looking at this perspective that you have. And I just think that's so important because it's so easy to get lost in our feelings and our thoughts, and we succumb to that. That our thoughts turn into our actions, and if we're walking around timid and looking down, it's like no, we got to walk with our heads held high. So I
Yeah.
love the perspective that you have for that.
Yes. Thank you so much. And, honestly, like, I think it's just so inspiring to see everybody in their post grad, like journeys being in these new environments and seeing the experiences that people have had. Like, sometimes, being in those diverse environments, it'll really work to your benefit because sometimes we might judge each other more than anybody else will, So it just depends on your outlook and how you look at it. And if you view yourself as an outsider, that's exactly what you'll be. So am I
Right.
saying like go, immerse yourself in an experience that you don't really want to do? No. But it also means like don't exclude yourself away from things and just have an open mind because they probably might not even be thinking anything of it. Like you don't know what people are thinking. Like they probably just like, oh, she's just another person. Like if you go into it thinking that like people are having all of these negative thoughts about you, like you're gonna go into it on defense mode. And that's never a good place to be in. Like that's not a good headspace to be in. What energy are you giving out? Because your thoughts kind of turn into your energy. Like, are you giving out like an open heart posture where you're open to connecting with people, or are you closed off and people are like kind of steered away from you because your energy is already pushing them away and you're body language is saying more than what you're even saying in that moment. So it's like you have to choose how you show up very intentionally. And when I show up in these rooms, it might take a little bit of work, but I'm so excited for the day, maybe like 5 years down the line, where I'll be able to be like, I remember when I was 23 and I was like, having these self worth issues when I was, in these new rooms and I had to work up. And it's like, yeah.
Give me
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that on top of everything. I mean, I know with, your new role being a month in, that you've still stayed true to your passion of, the content creation, helping others, that kind of self-help, inspirational type content. I love your content. I'm always following. I'm like, oh, let me like that. I see you're on TikTok, Instagram, something Grace Speaks, right? Isn't that that's who you
Yes.
I love it,
Yeah.
it's so inspirational, but I love that you're still staying true to that, and I know you're in the process of well, you're building this with the Leading with Love collective, your own
Yeah.
brand, your own and you speak on growth and it happening outside of your comfort zone. I know that's so big for you. You wanna continue to grow. I mean, you building your own brand, what does that look like for you?
Oh, yes, that's a good question because I'm figuring it out every day. I'm literally such a work in progress, it's not even funny, but, I would say when I first graduated, I always knew that I wanted to build a personal brand. That was my reason for going into media. And I knew that journalism was only going to be a medium for me to get to my next step, if that makes sense. So right now, like I'm not writing for any like publication or anything like that, but I know that writing will be in my future because I do want to be an author one day. And my mom is an author and I inherited the gift of writing from her, which I'm so grateful for. She's a better writer than me though. Um, yeah, like, I always kind of view things as like mediums to get to where I want to go. And I have to know internally that it won't really make sense to everybody, but it'll make sense to me and my journey, and that's okay. So, as far as like personal branding goes, my brand kind of turned from like the media girl and like journalism more towards pushing people outside of their comfort zone. So on LinkedIn, all of my posts are inspirational. I actually in September did a series where I highlighted people who didn't scare and did something outside of their comfort zone. So I highlighted my
Yes,
brother.
I know you
Yeah, I didn't do as many posts as I wanted to do, but I did, like, maybe on average, like, 2 a week or something like that, where they actually had, like, the most traction that I had ever gotten on LinkedIn.
wow.
I did a post that highlighted my brother who went to Harvard, and he bet on himself when he, like, pursued football. Um After, like, playing basketball his whole life, and now he's, like, an athlete and,
An
has
Ivy League institution, that's
at
amazing.
the number 1 Ivy League institution. Like, I highlighted him. I highlighted Gunna because I was, like, having a conversation, and I had seen the topic trending on social media. Gunna is a rapper who, if anybody doesn't know, he basically, um like, was locked up for a few years, and he got out of jail on they say he snitched on, like, Young Thug and, like, his whole posse or whatever, but he got out of jail and basically, like, turned over a new leaf, and he has a wellness club now, and he hosts 5K across the country, and he had one in New York earlier that week that I made the post, and I
Okay.
saw people saying, like, "Oh, Gunna is anointed," like, he started talking about God, he started talking about his faith and how, like, sometimes you have to, like, lose people to get to where you're going, and I just really resonated with that, and I didn't like the heat that he was getting. And I decided to make a post about it because it was something that I was thinking about, and I was just like, this is something that other people are probably thinking too. And probably nobody has covered it on LinkedIn because it's such a professional platform. Everybody, like, no, I want to be the breath of fresh air on LinkedIn so that people see it doesn't have to be stuffy all the time. And I posted about Tabitha Brown and how she made a statement about how entrepreneurs sometimes just need to get a 9 to 5, and everybody was, like, beating her up about it and saying that she had no right to say that and this, that, and the third. And I made a post basically being on her side because, like, yeah, sometimes you do have to get a 9 to 5, and she stood on what she said regardless of the backlash that she was getting. I made a post about my little brother who's 6 years old, and he, like, was crying about a toy, and he wouldn't give up until, like, my mom agreed to buy him another one because he had lost the one that he had before, and I felt that that was an example of him, like, betting on himself because he was persistent until he got what he wanted, until he my mom agreed to buy him a new toy. So it's
Mhm.
like all of these are examples of people that are like going outside of their comfort zone and inspiring. And that's what my brand is. I want to be known as like Elisa Nichols, who is like a public speaker, and she has like workshops and coaching, and she's built her personal brand for the last 40 years to the point where like her name speaks for itself, and she can like have a $20,000 client and be like, you know, the person that people look to for that expertise to pursue joy, and she
Mm.
can just get paid to be herself. I look up to people like Tabitha Brown who are serial entrepreneurs and who can just go on podcasts and make appearances and have like 5 different businesses and get paid to be herself, you know,
Right.
and pay for her expertise that she offers and can go on TV shows and be a judge for an entrepreneur, you know,
Mhm.
conference because her presence is valued and she's built her personal brand to that point where people are paying her to be herself. I look at people like DeAndre Brown, like the corporate baddie, how he gets like all of these brand deals and just different things just off
Mhm.
the strength that he built his personal brand and people fell in love with him as a person. So when it comes to like where my personal brand is, where it's heading, I'm starting to take clients. I just had my first paid client actually yesterday. We had our
Oh,
first call,
yeah.
and I'm helping other people who also want to build their personal brands along the way as I build mine. And I just want to encourage people to do it scared and step outside of their comfort zone and not get so caught up in, you know, the fear that may be associated with being in new rooms or being the youngest or not really knowing how to talk to people because COVID did a number on us. And, you know, being a young founder, I feel that is, you know, hard to step into these new experiences and these new spaces and still be confident. So, if nothing else, I can't say exactly like where I'll be in 20 years. I know that I want to build generational wealth. I know that I want to live a happy and healthy life. I know that I don't want to be like clocking in anywhere. I want to be able to like just be paid to be myself, whether that's through clients, whether that's through like a YouTube channel and me like getting paid residuals through that. Who knows what social media will look like at that point? But I just want to be in a space where I can just encourage people and inspire them and just be known as that source of positivity and be paid for my expertise and the strategy behind the way that I'm pushing people, right? Well, that's where that business economics comes in because it's like, okay, you have this idea, let's break it down. So, is that a consulting business? Is that an agency? Is that, you know, me maybe having a 9 to 5 just because I am passionate about it, but I have a coaching business on the side like I'm doing now? It's a lot of possibilities, but everything is in God's hands. I'm just grateful for the network that I have, the network that I've built while being here in Chicago, including you. A year ago, I felt very alone, and the fact that, like, I have a group of people that I can call friends now and family is just so important, and, yeah, I can't say to answer your question where I see, like, things being, but I'm trusting God at this point, and I know that all of my needs will be covered and that financial freedom is on the way. Okay.
That is great. Okay. Because you gotta speak that into existence, and you're
Yeah.
already have. And I
Yeah.
know in addition to, growth and pushing people out of their comfort zones, you also talk about not letting fear lead your decisions.
Mhm.
Oh, ask you, when was the time that you had to do it scared?
When was the time I had to do it scared? Honestly, like I think that taking this new position has been an example of doing it scared because True Star was a place of comfort for me. Like I was so used to everybody. Had known Miss Marty, me and her have known each other. If I'm about to turn 24, I've known her since I was 14. We've known each other now going on 10 years. You know, like she's been somebody that I've looked up to for 10 years. Same with Deanna and Tate, Trig, everybody at the old office, like are people that I've known for so long, right? and, like, I was comfortable there. You know, I had my allies, I had, everybody, I had my friendships, I had everybody who I loved, and I still do love at True Star. And it was scary to, like, be taking this interview and be, basically even telling them that I'm leaving was scary in itself. And I'm like having all these conversations with my boyfriend. I'm having conversations with my family. I'm having all of these, like, conversations. So I just didn't want to disappoint anybody. And I didn't want them to feel like I was betraying them. And I was so fearful. I had a conversation with you about it. Remember we had that
I
conversation?
talked for a while on the phone, just breaking it all down, and it's just like, yeah,
Yes.
you gotta just do it. There's a time, and when you outgrow till
Yeah.
you get to a point in something like we talked about earlier, you feel like you're outgrowing or you've grown that all you can in one place, then it's time to go somewhere else we can continue to blossom.
Yeah, absolutely. And your words really helped me too because you were an example of being there and then going off and like doing your own thing. So I would say like it was scary to go to a new environment. Like when I first got the role, I'm like, when they told me, keep in mind, I had already written it down. I'm big on manifestation, speaking things into existence. When I had like emailed them my digital portfolio, I had like mocked up an email. Girl, I'm so crazy to the point where I had mocked up an email telling myself that I had gotten a position. Every
Mhm.
time that I do that, it works. Like with my first client, when I email her like the package and I gave her time to decide on whether she wants to go through with it, I emailed her pretending like I emailed myself pretending like I was her saying like, "Oh, I accept." The package, like, I'm
Yeah,
that
yeah.
big on, like, manifestation, speaking things into existence because if you put yourself in that mindset that it's already happened, reality has no choice but to match your beliefs.
Mhm.
And so, like, I had manifested that, and I'm like when I got it, I'm like, "Wait, I just got this position. I have no idea what this company culture is like. I have no idea in reality, like what I'm getting myself into. I mean, obviously, like the employees say it's great, but I'm like just wondering, like, is this truly going to be a fit for me? Is this truly going to be a fit? And I was just like wrestling with, it, and I'm like, no, I know, because that was the only position that I applied to. And I'm just like, I know that God wouldn't put me in this position if he did not have a reason for me being here. And I just had to blindly trust that and blindly know that he knew what he was doing by giving me that position. Out of all the applicants that applied after 4 rounds of interviews, you mean to tell me that I got it? And this is by mistake? No, it
No.
cannot be by mistake, especially in this economy with it being like all of these black women that got laid off. And, I'm just thinking about that. I'm like, I just got this pay upgrade. I got all of these benefits. This gotta be on purpose. And it
Yeah,
was
that
scary.
doesn't happen on accident.
It doesn't happen on accident. And I knew that there was a reason why I applied there and it wouldn't leave me alone. Like, it was, like, a week that went by in between, like, me seeing the application and applying, and I would, like, see it because I had bookmarked it on LinkedIn. Like, I was kinda, like, dragging my feet a little bit, and I just kept on hearing, "Apply, apply, 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 apply." And so I'm hearing this, and I know that it's for a reason, and so, like, with me being here now and having these struggles with, like, showing up in the rooms and not being so timid, it's like, I just have to it's growing
Mm.
pains, and that's something that, I'm definitely looking forward to like growing through because I know like once I conquer this and being like myself in this room, I'll be able to be myself anywhere. Like I'm speaking that
Mhm.
into existence. So,
You
um,
have to. You have
yeah,
to.
yeah,
So what do you think for those, emerging, content creators, those emerging leaders, those emerging, I mean, emerging everything's. I mean, this Gen Z is we're such a powerful, wait, yeah, we're Gen Z. Yeah. I was like,
yeah,
wait, what generation?
yeah,
We're such a powerful, I think we're a powerful group and we have the ability to make such a big impact with what we have at our fingertips, especially this social media, this world of social media. So what's
yeah.
one mindset shift that you think every Gen Z leader should adapt?
Mindset shift. That's good. I need some time to think about that. Let me see. I think that, okay, I know one. Now, There are 2 opposite ends of this spectrum, I will say, because while there is an end of the spectrum where when it comes to work ethic, you are kinda just, like, lackluster, you don't really care about anything like that, people say, "F this job," whatever, like, there's that spectrum, but then there's another spectrum where it's like you kinda care too much and, like, you're, like, spending all day, all night on, like, a project that might not matter in the long run. I don't think you should be at either end of the spectrum. However, I do think that a lot of people in our generation kinda have the mindset that, like, this job doesn't matter. I'm gonna be late. I'm gonna like dress how I want. They need to accept me or like go or whatever like that. I think there's kind of a lack of, I don't want to say professionalism, but there's a lack of like drive and that intrinsic motivation. And while I've always kind of been a person that just has been an overachiever, like I recognize that everybody isn't like that and I fully understand that. But you have to understand that if you want to go anywhere in life, your personal brand does not only like start online with a LinkedIn post. It starts with how you enter the room, what time you get there, your attitude when you get there. Are you smiling? Are you happy to be there? Do people like being around you? Or are you like always having an attitude? Like that's how people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. People
Mhm,
hire people that they know, like, and trust. People look up to people and invest with people and invest in people that they know, like, and trust. And if you wanna get anywhere that is worth being and you have, like, big dreams and you have maybe a clothing brand that you wanna see
mhm,
worldwide and global that you wanna scale, or you wanna be a speaker and you want to like speak on national stages and be hired for conferences, or you want to get paid to consult with big corporations on maybe your Gen Z expertise, or
mhm,
you want to give TED Talks, or maybe you want to come out with an album. People aren't going to like buy a meet and greet ticket from you if they know you to be rude. It's just like it goes so much further than social media. And I think that like, we really have to work on as a generation, like our soft skills and being able to have that intrinsic motivation to be motivated about something other than like the short term. And I think that there's an aversion to like long term thinking in your 20s because the accessibility is kind of like people think that there's always like a better option, I think.
mhm.
When it comes to dating, it's like, oh, well, he messed up and we did this and whatever, and I'm just gonna go and find somebody better on Hinge because I know that I got all these boys in my like
Right,
list
right.
and they want to talk to me, so I'm gonna go. Like, no, you have to have that long-term vision to be able to stick with things even when they're hard. Now that's not saying don't pivot to something that works a little bit better or a method that works better, but the end goal should always stay the same. And in order to do that, you have to have grit. You have to have that determination. And I think about Blue Ivy all the time, like Beyonce's daughter. If she
Yeah,
had like, succumbed to the criticism that she was
yeah.
getting
I thought
and
or the beginning of the Renaissance tour.
yes, and decided to, like, just quit, where would she be now? She wouldn't be doing her Deja Vu solo by herself, honey, and she killed it. Okay? Like, literally, you have to just, like I feel like our generation is kinda lacking that grit a little bit, and there's nothing more important than that. But honestly, the people who have that grit, like me and you, like, we're gonna be so far ahead of everybody by the time, like, our 20s are over, and by the time your 30s established and people, like, finally start to realize like, man, I don't want to work this 9 to 5 my whole life. I want to have a side
Right, and it's
hustle.
like,
It's
okay, we're
like,
already thinking those steps ahead, right? You gotta think short term before you I mean, yes, you wanna think short term and long term, but you gotta think about the steps to get to that long term goal.
exactly.
And just be like, "I wanna
Exactly.
be here." You gotta look at what you gotta do, what you need to do to get there.
Yeah.
I
And you
think
have
that
to
could
hustle.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think you have to hustle too. Like you have to like I don't know, like, sometimes you are gonna have to, like, work late at night, like, I'm not saying you gotta stay up all night every night, but, like, if you got a deadline and your boss is looking for something and you know you want to be known as an excellent employee, sometimes you gotta stay up. If you
Right.
know you wanna put out content, you gotta wake up early. Like, you if you have goals, it's gonna come with sacrifice. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I hear you, especially even with what I'm doing now. Like, I'm thinking about the steps I want to take to also kind of build my own brand. And it
Okay.
starts with the things of the podcast. It starts with the content creation, the social media clips, the making time and dedicating time to the things that I want to continue to grow. So I hear you, girl. I hear you. But to kind of wrap things up for us, I don't know if you've listened to some of the other episodes, but kind of the golden question that I ask every one of my guests that I've had so far, as we kind of come to an end. When you think about everything, when you think about where you are spiritually, creatively, personally, professionally, I mean, you have so much going on and still so much to come for you. Where do you feel that you're at?
Ooh, where do I feel like I'm at? I feel like I'm in a place where I'm finally starting to get the things that I prayed so hard for. Um, Even like personally, I have a beautiful relationship that I've gotten a part to, that I've been blessed with. I have a beautiful job that I've been blessed with. I work from home today. I have beautiful clients that I've been blessed with, potential clients. I have future beautiful revenue that I've been blessed to steward well, that God trusts me with to be able to give back to people. And the more that you show him that you can trust, that he can trust you with that income, he's going to only bless you with more. I have beautiful opportunities, and now I'm in a place where I want to be able to have that discipline and consistency to be able to keep it and multiply it, because I'm at a point now where if I mess up and I, kind of slack off and I don't do what I need to do for a week, so many people are going to be affected. Like, not only through content, but I have people that are paying me at this point to hold
Hmm.
them accountable.
Yeah.
Like, I have people paying me to hold them accountable with their personal brand. I cannot let them down, because at that point, that would be an integrity issue, and I'm so big on character. So
Hmm.
it's like I have a standard that I have to uphold, and I can't hold anybody else accountable if I'm not holding myself accountable and posting and still maintaining my personal brand, and also doing a good job at my 9 to 5, and also being a good daughter, and also being a good girlfriend, and also being a good sister, and trying to show up for everybody. And it's hard sometimes, but I feel like I'm in a place right now where I'm just learning, like, what it takes to keep what I have now and multiply it at such a young age. And I'm just so grateful to even be in this place where God trusts me with these friendships and these relationships, and, you know, family members, and just so many things that he's trusted me with. I want to be able to show that I take it seriously, and that just prove that I can do it, just prove that I can handle it well and not crack under pressure. And pressure builds diamonds. So, um, yeah, that's where I feel like I am. I'm in a place where I am learning, I'm growing, I'm turning 24 in April. I'm demanding a new standard out of
Hmm.
myself. Like, look, you about to turn 24. You can't play that soon. You're not gonna be able to play that early 20s
Right.
card. Like,
Right.
it only
We're
lasts
mid
so
to
long.
late 20s before we know it. Be like, oh, late 20s?
Right.
Wait, I'm not there yet. Give me some time. But I hear
Okay.
you.
I'm not looking forward to. I'm like, dang, I'm about to be 24, then
I'll be
25.
closer to 25. I'll be 25 in February. And it's like,
Wow.
right. I'm like, oh, 5 years away from 30. Wait a minute. Where did
Right.
the time go?
I was just 22.
In
I was
college,
just
exactly.
21.
Time goes so fast. Like,
It goes. Yeah.
but I mean, I'm just so thankful that Chicago brought me so many beautiful things, beautiful people, beautiful relationships. And I'm just so happy that you were one of the people that I met along the way. I'm so happy God gave me True Star because I mean, it was the most random thing to randomly get this internship, but it was a blessing in disguise. And the time I got to spend there before, moving away and starting my job here now, it's just, I look back on that time. That was such a special year for me, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad that I met you along the way.
Of course, same here. Like I admired your professionalism from the jump. Like one thing I knew about Taylor was that she was gonna get that job done because when you first started at True Star, you were also still in your master's program.
Mhm.
So you were
Yeah.
balancing both. And I could see like how much you were doing, even though you didn't show it, but I could see that that was probably a lot, but you still handle everything with grace. You never complained. You never complained about the commute. You were taking the train, I believe, at the time, right?
For the most part, yes, I would take the train. I take the blue line, transfer at Clark and Lake, get on, I think, the green line and get off at
Yeah.
Bronze, but I forget. But yeah,
You
I
get
was
off
taking the
at
train.
47th, yeah.
Yes, yes, I would do that when my boyfriend wasn't able to take me, or if I was, because I lived up north and I needed to get, down. So yeah, I was making it work, but I was surrounded by people that it made all of that worth it. So
Yeah, absolutely, and it all paid off. It all glad to have met you that summer, like, literally locked in always, and I'm just so proud to see everything that you're doing, and I'm glad that you invited me on. I'm so thankful that you had me,
you have so much value to share with people, and I hope they take a lot away because I know I did just listening and being the host of this. So thank you so much, Sully. I appreciate your time.